Hey guys and gals, today I'm going to be talking to you about subject and predicate, which is something that you need to have to write a good sentence. So we're going to watch a little video first, and then we're going to talk more in depth about subject and predicate.
This is the tale of Mr. Morton. Mr. Morton is who? He is the subject of our tale, and the predicate tells what Mr. Morton must do. Mr. Morton walked down the street. Mr. Morton walked. Mr. Morton talked to his cat. Mr. Morton talked. Hello, cat. You look good. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. Mr. Morton knew just one girl. Mr. Morton knew. Mr. Morton grew flowers for Pearl. Mr. Morton grew. Mr. Morton was very shy. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The subject is a noun. That's a person, place, or thing. It's who or what the sentence is about. And the predicate is the verb. That's the action word that gets this subject up and out. Mr. Morton wrote Pearl a poem. Mr. Morton wrote. Pearl replied in the afternoon. Pearl replied by a note. Mr. Morton was very nervous. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The cat stretched, the sun beat down, a neighbor chased his kid. Come here, kid, come on. Each sentence is completed when you know what the subject did. Mr. Morton knocked on her door. Mr. Morton knocked. Mr. Morton sat on her porch. Yes, he just sat there and rocked. Mr. Morton was a nervous man. When she opened up the door, he ran. Mr. Morton climbed up his stairs. Mr. Morton climbed. Mr. Morton rhymed pretty words. Mr. Morton rhymed. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was, until Pearl showed up with a single rose. Who says women can't propose? Now Mr. Morton is happy, and Pearl and the cat are too. They're the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says they do.
All right, how nice was that, right? So we're going to talk today, and we're going to be talking about...
And now for our feature presentation.
You got it, subjects and predicate. And this song about Mr. Morton was a really great example. So every complete sentence always has two parts, like the song said, a subject and a predicate. A subject is what the sentence is about. Just like the song said, it's usually a noun, a person, place, or thing. And the predicate part of the sentence tells something about the subject, what the subject is doing, that kind of thing. So Judy and her dog run on the beach every morning. Let's take a look at what the subject is and what the predicate is. The easiest way to do this is first find the verb. So in this sentence it was run. Run on the beach every morning. That's what's being done. After that, ask yourself who? Who's doing this? Who's running? Well, Judy and her dog. So the subject of the sentence is Judy and her dog. And the predicate, which starts with the verb, is they run on the beach every morning. Let's try this together. We spilled popcorn on the floor. Now let's look at finding the verb. The verb starts our predicate. Can you find it? spilled. So spilled starts our predicate. Spilled popcorn on the floor is what they did. Now we need to figure out.
That was brilliant.
We're going to find out who. Who spilled the popcorn? That's our subject. We. We is the subject. Spilled popcorn on the floor is the predicate. Now it's your turn. We're going to start with the predicate first. Find that verb. My little brother broke his finger. If you have a whiteboard or piece of paper, why don't you write down the verb that starts the predicate? Number 2. His Uncle Bob asked for directions. Write down the verb for number 2 that starts the predicate. Number 3. Those soldiers carried guns. Once again, write down the verb that signals the start of a predicate. And lastly, number 4, our babysitter arrived late. Write down the verb. Let's go over it. So for number 1, my little brother broke his finger. You should have written down or circled the word broke. Broke his finger is the complete predicate. Broke just signals that that's the start of it. For number 2, his Uncle Bob asked for directions. Asked starts our predicate, so the complete predicate is asked for directions. Number 3, carried is our verb. It's something you can do. So our predicate, our complete predicate, is carried guns. And number 4, our babysitter arrived late. Arrived. Can you arrive? Yes, you can. It's an action. So arrived late is our complete predicate. Now with these same sentences, I want you to do the same thing, but this time you're going to write down or circle the subject. So think about, we know broke his finger is our predicate. Who? Who broke his finger? His Uncle Bob asked for directions. So, who is the subject of this sentence? Who asked for directions? Those soldiers carried guns. Who is the subject of the sentence? Who carried guns? Write it down now. Our babysitter arrived late. Find your subject, write it down. Who arrived late? Let's see how you did. Hopefully for number 1, you wrote down or circled or underlined my little brother. That answers the question who. Who broke his arm? My brother. Or broke his finger? My brother. Number 2, the subject is his Uncle Bob. That's who asked for directions. Number 3, the soldiers, they're the ones who carried the guns. And number 4, our subject is our babysitter, because who arrived late? Our babysitter. Excellent job. So now you know all about subject and predicate. Thanks for joining me.